Chelsea. Well, the latest is, as Jen said a second ago, thankfully we have had this break in the rain, which has helped things move a little bit smoother. But as you can see behind me, it's still an incredibly serious situation because the floodwaters in this apartment complex have not receded this morning. There you see the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, their high-rise water rescue vehicle going back there to make one last attempt to try and help people evacuate. And that's really what's been going on since early this morning. Today is all about honoring those they lost during the over 200-year history of the department, but it's also a chance to use their lives to inspire today's officers. The city says because the announcement was just made today, there are no immediate plans to fill the public safety director position, but they say there will be much thought and consideration to filling it going forward. Father Corey Chris says it's so rare that not a lot of people have even heard of this disease, so he's running hard all day to change that. She is able to move around using crutches, but she'll still have to go to some specialists to see exactly how much damage was done to her leg. John Bethea was known for his kindness and his generosity both on and off the job, and that's exactly why they want to make sure his legacy lives on. Good morning, and thanks for choosing Fox 10 News on this Sunday morning. I'm Daeshen Smith. Fox 10 meteorologist Nicholas Herboso is here with a check on that Sunday morning forecast. Saraland plans to stop providing police and fire protection outside the city limits. Businesses there won't have to pay city sales tax anymore, but people not living in the city will have to rely on the sheriff's office and volunteer fire companies for help. Today is a great opportunity for kids to get up close to a great big fire truck or some other service vehicles, and it's happening later on today. Right now, Fox 10 News is at Touch a Truck. Meteorologist Matt Barentine joins us live from the grounds now. And Matt, this is always a pretty fun event. What can folks expect later on today? Yesterday marked the first of 2 National Drug Take-Back Days this year. The day gives people an opportunity to properly dispose of prescription pills anonymously with no questions asked. And we are now less than a week away to the kickoff of the 90th annual Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo. Of course, the weekend ahead of the big tournament is all about the kids. The Roy Martin Young Anglers Tournament giving kids 15 years and younger a chance to reel in the big ones. The one-day event featured 30 categories with prizes awarded for first, second, and third place in each category. Master Angler also awarded. Fox 10's #1 angler, Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith, was down on the island and sent in these pics. Here's Connor Tillman and Fisher Smith, rising second graders at St. Luke's, showing off their big catch. Congratulations to them. President Joe Biden's administration is focused on the latest jobs report as the mystery of the cocaine found at the White House continues. This Tuesday morning crash on Highway 98 in Alberta took the lives of 2 Baldwin County men, including 42-year-old John Bethea, who was a mail carrier. But before he delivered mail, he was the very first employee of Automatic Wrecker and Towing Service and a close friend of owner Levon Parr.
We went to school together and went all the way through middle school and high school together. We used to ride to school together and ride the bus together.
Bethea started as a service tech in 2017 and was promoted to service manager before choosing a new career in April of this year. Parr says he was one of the most selfless people he knew.
If he had $10 and you asked him for $5, he'd give you that or give you all of it. He never said no to anybody. He was always willing to help where he could.
Parr says that same personality carried over into his work life, like last year when he was on a service call and found out the customer didn't have enough money.
He was willing to take the money out of his pocket to pay for it, and so me and him come to an agreement that we would offer the services to them for free. He was just all joyful about that situation because the lady needed a battery in her car and he was able to install a battery and get her on her way.
Even though he left the company in April,
this is John David Bethea.
There's still signs of him around the business.
This truck here is an autism awareness truck, and David asked if we could put initials on the puzzle pieces, and I agreed to it. And so that's the reason this truck right here is so special to the company, is because everywhere this truck goes and the driver that drives it every day gets to ride around with David's name on the side of this truck.
Parr says they plan to add more pieces with Bethea's date of birth and date of death on them, so they can put that logo on every truck going forward to make sure his name lives on.
Every one of our service techs here was trained by his foundation, so we want to keep his legacy living on as long as we can.
Brandon Hallman and his friends were some of the thousands of people celebrating New Year's Eve in downtown Mobile. Hallman says they were walking down Dauphin Street for the Third Eye Blind concert when they started hearing gunshots.
Whenever they heard it, they thought it was those firework poppers that you throw on the ground. But for me, I immediately knew and told him to run.
Hallman says he and his friends ran down Dauphin Street to take cover as the shots continued. Hallman says he caught a quick glimpse of what happened.
It sounded like he just unloaded the entire clip. He didn't seem like he knew how to control the gun very well. Just kind of pulled it out of his pocket and unloaded the entire clip and then just ran.
The group finally took cover near Joachim Street. Hallman says a couple of them were grazed by bullet fragments. Then they realized their friend Ruthba Yasmin had been shot in the leg.
She had a lot of blood loss. I immediately used a jacket that we had that was a kind of a thinner cloth to make a tourniquet to stop the bleeding as well as possible before running back down Dolphin Street toward the gunfire to find a police officer.
Ruthba was rushed to a local hospital where doctors found the bullet had gone straight through and broke her leg. Hallman says they found part of the bullet in her shoe after she was discharged from the hospital. But despite the injuries, she's still in good spirits.
I wouldn't be able to process it as well as she has. It's been inspiring.
Ruthba's entire family is still in her home country of Bangladesh while she works to get her graduate degree in electrical engineering at South Alabama. So her friends are doing everything they can to help her recover at home.
She definitely didn't deserve this. I don't think anybody deserves this, but she definitely doesn't, and I think she needs as much help as possible.
For Jeremy Hathcock and his family, things started as a normal Saturday afternoon fishing trip near Fort Morgan, but things changed around 3 or 4 hours into the trip.
We seen a storm come in on Dolphin Island side. It came around to Fort Morgan and kind of hung out there.
Hathcock and his family were about 7 miles out when the bilge pumps on his boat stopped. Then the boat started taking on water when the wind picked up.
And we had pretty close to 40-mile-an-hour winds. When the wind started picking up, that's when the trouble started. That's when the waves got really, really big.
That's when they saw a Gold Runner workboat that was heading back towards land. They were able to make it to the boat, but theirs was still taking on water.
We got my aunt off the boat, I got off the boat, and we were trying to get my 2 uncles off the boat when the boat capsized.
His uncles held on to the boat for about 30 minutes until they were brought on board the Gold Runner before the Coast Guard arrived.
If the Gold Runner hadn't have been there, I wouldn't be standing here doing this interview today.
From there, they were taken to Dauphin Island, where paramedics helped them before an off-duty Dauphin Island police officer took Hathcock to meet his wife in Mobile.
I was just thankful to be there. Thankful that I could still give her a hug.
Hathcock and his family were treated at a hospital for hypothermia, but thankfully all of them were okay. But he says the experience still sticks with him almost 3 weeks later.
This is my serenity out here that I go to clear my mind, and that day, the one thing that I love, I felt like in my mind that it was trying to kill me that day.
But even so, he hopes to get back to the water soon.
It's still a little emotional, but I'm just trying to deal with it day by day. It's like the old saying goes, if you fall off the horse, you got to get back on it, and that's what I'm going to do pretty soon.
Road to Work pays people $9 an hour to pick up trash. Since signing a contract with the city of Mobile, Matt Armbruster says they've had almost 50 people come through the program.
It gets them back on their feet. They can also then qualify for certain programs that require you to have some sort of income.
Armbruster says if all goes well, people will spend 2 months in Road to Work before spending the next 3 months at Ransom Recycling, where a caseworker will help them with some of their other needs.
A lot of the trainees come in, they don't have a Social Security card, picture ID, birth certificate, or other things like that, and so we help them get that.
The trainees come from all walks of life and say this is truly a fresh start for them.
I've gained a family here. I was addicted to methamphetamine when I was on the street from the age of 15 years old till last year, till I went to prison. I'm a fully recovered addict, and I only got Ransom to thank for that.
Trainees also get forklift and OSHA training during the program, which has helped people like Otis get a job with the city of Mobile before moving on to Austell.
Shining example of what can happen in the city of Mobile. God bless you.
And Patrick Johnson, who plans to work for the city next.
8 months ago, I was lost in the world. Now, I'm better in myself. I ain't on drugs no more. And, I'm looking forward towards the future.
Civilian access to NAS Pensacola had been mostly shut down since the deadly 2019 terrorist attack. NAS Commanding Officer Captain Terry Shishati says he first requested to restore public access last June.
The previous exception of policy was allowed to expire, so we had to go through that whole process again to ensure our security protocols are what are required and needed to make sure the safety and security of the installation is in place.
Over the last year, officials allowed visitors on base a few weekends. Thanks to how those weekends went, NAS Pensacola was given the green light to expand public access.
We were able to prove that we can have visitors on the installation while maintaining the safety and security of, again, the installation as well as the people that work and live on this base, as well as the visitors that will end up coming here.
Starting May 17th from 9 to 3, visitors will be able to visit the Barrancas National Cemetery, the Pensacola Lighthouse, and the National Naval Aviation Museum. It couldn't come at a better time for the museum and the lighthouse.
Visitors are our lifeblood. It cost us about $5 million over the last few years since the base was closed for regular access.
And it's an asset and part of the cultural heritage of Pensacola to be here.
Residents like Alpha Gibson say it's been a long time coming.
They should never shut it down in the first place. I've been out there 3 or 4 times, and you just can't get it all at one time. Everybody ought to go through there at least one time.
Captain Shashadi says all security protocols have been worked out with local law enforcement and with Navy command staff, and he urges visitors to speak up if they see anything suspicious.
We're going to live by the see something, say something motto. If there's an issue on base, I have full confidence in my team that they'll be able to handle anything that comes our way.
Ever since he was 2 days old, 9-year-old Connor Christ has undergone treatment for Prader-Willi syndrome. His father, Corey Christ, says it's a rare genetic disorder that affects the 15th chromosome.
There's a lot of life-threatening portions that go along with it. Hyperphagia, which is loss of overeating. Imagine the hungriest you've ever been and not being able to eat because you can't feel full. A lot of them end up diabetes, a lot of them end up sleep apnea, passing away in their sleep.
Corey says it's been an up and down road for his son, but for the most part, he's been handling it well.
He tries to hug people 2 and 3 times each time he meets them and talks to them. He's just a great kid, loving, and he's always positive.
After years of treatment, Chris says their doctor may have found a solution.
Our specialist in Gainesville is on the verge of some groundbreaking medicine that can help cure the life-threatening portion or aspect of Prader-Willi syndrome. All right, y'all ready? Get it. Go.
To help raise money and awareness, Chris came up with Run Around the Clock, where he runs a mile every hour on the hour. He started at 7 Friday morning, but he isn't running alone. Every mile, he's joined by his friends and students who have supported him since the beginning.
It's been really cool to see these kids pour back into me. It's really cool to see the support. And it's not just the kids, it's the teachers, it's the administration, it's the community.
As they go through the day, Chris says having the students close by makes every mile easier.
The adrenaline's pumping when they're cheering you on. It's just, it amps you up. And Alex has to remind me, hey man, we need to slow down a little bit. I'm honored to have them be a part of the Connor legacy.